Hello, people. Hey, everyone. Hey, authentic therapist. It is Keisha here on a Friday afternoon after 5 o'clock. Hopefully, some of you guys are on your way home. Maybe some of you guys are already at home. I don't know, but it is Friday and I'm looking forward to this weekend. It's been a lot going on, but wanted to come on today because there's been a theme that I've noticed, and that is that a lot of people are struggling with fear, and that fear is actually holding them back from moving forward in their practice. Now, this could really apply to you, honestly, if you are starting a therapy practice or wanting to start a therapy practice, but you are afraid to do so. Or it could be that you're actually already in your therapy practice and you have it running, but you're not taking the necessary steps to in order to scale your business, or you're avoiding certain things. So a lot of it has to do with fear. So today, just to introduce you guys to me, for those of you who don't know me, I am Keisha Sando. I am the founder of Authentic Profitable Practice, where I help therapists like you with their mindset, building a mindset that is productive, that is encouraging, that is confident, in order to basically scale their practices, build and develop sustainable therapy practices. So that is basically what we do inside of our programs and also inside of my individual coaching. So we're going to talk a little bit about just what that fear looks like and what are some things that you can kind of do to help you move through that. And so let's go ahead and get started. You will see me kind of looking down because I do have some notes for you guys today. So the first thing is that a lot of people are not moving forward just because of fear of failure. Now, this is something that you probably are thinking like, yeah, duh, Keisha, yeah. Is a lot of people are dealing with fear of failure, but what exactly is fear of failure? So let's kind of jump into that. So we know that a lot of people are afraid that they say like, oh, I don't know what to do, but really the thing is that we tend to have these like false expectations, or we tend to focus on what we think other people are going to be thinking about us. And so it's not even just the fear of failure, but is what happens as a result of the failure. So yeah, I could fail or I could succeed, but that's not really what it is. The real thing is what's behind that. And what's behind that is, what are they going to say? What is my family going to say? What are my colleagues going to say if I fail at this thing? Maybe there's certain investments that you've needed to make in order to get to where you are, or things that you feel like you might need to make when you're developing your therapy practice. And you don't want people to say, see, I told you you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have taken that plunge. You should have stayed with something that was more consistent, that's going to be more stable, right? So all of those things are reasons why people may not want to move forward in developing a therapy practice or actually scaling their therapy practice. And I want to add in another thing. Guess what? Some people don't move because of fear of failure. I mean, not failure, but fear of success. What does fear of success look like? Fear of success looks like, but what if I get big? What if I make so much of an impact? What if I actually make a lot of money? All of the things that happens after that is what also people get and are really, really concerned and nervous about. Because when you're even looking at just impact, yes, we say ideally we want to impact as many people as possible. But then the thought is like, what happens if we say the wrong thing? What if we don't want to get a lawsuit or something like that, right? What if we cause someone to backtrack or to regress, right? The more people that we are in front of, the more people that we have to the opportunity to make an impact on, that some people look at that as that's a big thing. And just as equally as I could help, is the same as what we can do in terms of hurting that particular client. So that is part of also what happens when you talk about fear of success. So it's not just fear of failure, but it's also fear of success. Okay, so that's one of those things. Now, with that comes along with imposter syndrome. We already know what imposter syndrome is. Basically, when we just feel like we don't amount up, we're not good enough as the next therapist that we've seen. maybe this other therapist has more experience, maybe this other person has done more research, maybe this other person has they're connected to some other people that are high up in the industry. But whatever your experiences have been, many people experience imposter syndrome. And I'm actually the one to sit here and tell you that this is not something that I would say a lot of people actually experience this, but this is not something that you just work on just by talking it out, working through it by journaling. This is actually something that you overcome by taking action. And so that's why I really, really preach this a lot in our group membership program, Therapists in Action, is because you have to be able to fight your fear through taking action. You can't just sit back on the sidelines and just thinking about the fear, just thinking about the things you're concerned about. That's not going to be the thing that's actually going to make the difference for you or in your business. You have to start to take action. And the more you start to take action, you start to build that internal confidence within yourself that will allow you to then take the necessary steps that you need in order to build your practice. So this is actually something that's very, very prevalent in, I would say, even with therapists. People, it's kind of, you wouldn't think that you should be concerned about those things as a therapist, but the reality is that a lot of therapists actually do deal with imposter syndrome. And honestly, we could really talk about this topic a lot more, but we're not going to get into all of that today. Okay. The other part of it is just fear of financial risk that you may be taking. Now, with that, of course, there's a lot of things that we could talk about when it comes down to financial risk, but the biggest thing that I want to really kind of hone in on is stability. So, a lot of people look at going to a 9 to 5 as it being more stable. You're going to have a job that's going to give you money either every week or in most people's cases twice a month, right? Or every other week. So it's that consistent income that we feel like we can actually go off of and we can prepare for. But you and I both know that the state of the world that we're in right now, it is not too consistent. It's not too stable either. So that's probably one of the, what I would say would probably be one of the benefits of running a therapy practice is that you can actually set things up to determine when you get paid, how often you get paid, and how much you get paid. And lastly, of course, how much you work. So you don't have anybody trying to tell you about any of those things. Guess what? If you have met your max at a particular company, in many ways it's very difficult to get past that. Yes, we can always ask for increases, for raises in our salary, but 9 times out of 10 it's only but so much you're going to be able to go up, and especially only but so much you're going to be able to go up within a certain period of time. You may have to wait a couple of more years, but starting a therapy practice and actually working on scaling will put you in a position to be able to meet your financial goals actually better. And even with that, let me just add in the part about like what most people are concerned about: insurance. Once you get yourself to a certain point in scaling your business, you can actually get insurance within your business. So you don't have to get it outside. There's a lot of like even payroll companies now that are partnering up with so many different other like companies, but one of those companies has to do with, oh, I wouldn't even say companies, but more so like a service that they are partnering up with is health insurance. So with that now, it's starting to become more open and available for you to actually be able to get health insurance as a solo practitioner, or even if you have a group practice. Whereas before it used to have a cap to it, or you had to have X amount of therapists working under you, or even if you were a solo practitioner and you had just one other person come along, you wouldn't be able to just put yourself on that practice. I mean, on that insurance. So yeah, so there's a lot of new things that are happening. So even when it comes down to financial risk, this is not really something that we should really just count out in terms of just moving forward with starting our therapy practice, because there are ways to be able to still make sure that we are financially stable within our therapy practice. And again, there's so much more we could talk about that, but we don't have a lot of time today to go into all the details, right? And so Lastly, what I want to talk about is so many people just don't want to start their therapy practice just because they are just overwhelmed, right? Now, the truth of the matter is that a lot of people are overwhelmed in even the development of their therapy practice, or even in starting their therapy practice because they lack information. They are uncertain about what steps to take, what strategies to use, what techniques to use, what systems to use, how to put in automation, how to get paid. These are all the things that a lot of people actually use as excuses from moving forward and starting a therapy practice or scaling their therapy practice. So when I say scaling, scaling could be what you allow to happen in terms of your own practice with you just by yourself, or it could be scaling to actually a group practice, a larger practice. But when you don't have the necessary information that you need in order to bring to be able to get to that point that you want in your practice, then a lot of times people are afraid. And it's mainly because there's just like a lack of knowledge and a lack of systems. And again, that's the reason why we have therapists in action, and that why I work with therapists, because I realize that the truth of the matter is that many of us were not taught this information when we went to school, and now we're out here trying to start a therapy practice, pretty much just relying on these big companies to do all the work for us and not really having much of a say so in it. But it's because of a lack of knowledge and not understanding what we really need to do. So these are a lot. There's, of course, a lot of reasons. Definitely, if you have any other reasons or reasons why you think it's been difficult for you to start your therapy practice, or why you've not grown your therapy practice, please put it in the chat so that we can kind of go back and forth and talk about what you need to do in order to get through this. But before we move forward, or info to that, I just really want to kind of talk about what are some of the things that we can do in order to move through the fear. Now, I want to say this again. We need to move through this fear. Like I said with imposter syndrome, you're not going to just wake up one day and just say like, "Oh, I'm not afraid anymore. Oh, I'm not nervous anymore." There's going to be work that you have to put in order to do that. And just like we work with our clients to be able to do this, we have to do the same for ourselves. So I'm definitely a big promoter of CBT. So I'm going to utilize something right now, which basically I just want you to write down your fears so that you can really just confront them head on. What are those things that you are using that you are telling yourself for why you cannot either start your therapy practice or scale your practice? Then next, I want you to think about, what evidence do you have? Great, right? What evidence do you have that this fear is real? Right? So after you come from that, I want you then to reframe that thought. And I need you to talk to yourself, basically pinpointing that negative thought that you know that you have, and most likely it's probably irrational, right? Right. So I want you to think about, what are some words that you can kind of tell yourself? What are some phrases, some new ways of thinking about this thing that could help you to face this fear? So, like, maybe you have enough training or skills to be able to execute all of this. That there's a lot of resources, there's books, there's videos, there's courses out there that could help you to be able to obtain this goal that you have for yourself. So, whatever your negative beliefs are about this that's causing you to be afraid, write it down, and I want you to challenge that. The other part that I want you to do is really just start to think small. Think, like, when I say small, I mean in terms of the goal, the way that you're looking at, because a lot of time this fear is happening because of our perception of what what we think that it is. We feel like it's hard. We feel like it's stressful. We feel like it's going to be more difficult. We feel like we're going to get in trouble if we don't do the right thing. But a lot of times, if we just take the small steps right now, write down some short-term goals first to get to that longer term goal that you have for yourself. Okay. And once you're doing that, that can actually help to eliminate some of this fear that you're having. Because if we're looking at like 10 things, yeah, we're going to get overwhelmed. We're not going to feel like it's ever something that we can accomplish. But if I'm just looking at one goal at a time, it feels more manageable. It feels like more realistic, and it feels like I can actually accomplish it. And then once you do that and you actually see yourself accomplishing that one part of your goal for starting your therapy practice or developing it, then that positive, you can use positive reinforcement just to keep that flow and that momentum going. Okay. Now, I also want to encourage you to seek out mentorship or coaching if that is something that you're not currently doing. Now, shout out to all the people that are in my coaching program, and we're getting this work. We are putting it to action. We're taking action in our practices. We're tired of making excuses. We're setting up systems. We're setting up strategies. So if you know that that's something that you need in order to take it to the next level, if you're tired of making excuses, if you're tired of looking at your all of your financial goals and never meeting those goals, then I want you to consider joining the membership program. If you need someone just to kind of hold your hand, we can offer that as well within our therapist in action group membership program, as well as our individual coaching sessions that we have. So you can actually click the link in the description and get more information about that. And we would definitely love to have you. But the key here is that you don't have to do this alone. We have people, we have resources, we have systems that can help you to set it up. Guess what? I've been in private practice for some time now, and I've learned a lot, honestly, the hard way. So this is the reason why I have this program, because I really want to help people to start from the ground up and really have some sustainable, successful practices that build wealth, that build freedom, that help them to live confident lives and enjoy their lives. So I don't want to take up too much of your time today. So I hope this was helpful. But remember, fear can hold you back, or you can use it as a momentum to press through and to accomplish your goals. But guess what? I want you to push through that fear. If you haven't subscribed, definitely go ahead and subscribe, and let's get this momentum going. Take care, Authentic Therapists.